Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of Devlogue series. I'm Vishalini, and I'm the founder of Zipy, a SaaS startup based out of India. We are very excited about this session, and a big thank you to all of you who took out time and are participating today. So I see a lot of founders, developers, product guys here, and I hope you'll be able to relate to what we're going to be discussing today. Uh, Let me just give you a background about why we are doing this series and how it all started. So we're building a startup, Zipy. Zipy wants basically at Zipy we want to solve for developers so that they can solve their customer issues very quickly. And while we started our journey in this startup, we realized that there are a lot of tech challenges or a lot of questions we had on the technology side of things. So we started going and reaching out to a lot of tech leaders out there. And that's when we realized that I'm sure there are a lot of other people out there who have the same set of questions. So why not build an open collaboration platform and start discussing these issues and learn from people who've been there and done that? And hence Devlog. And this is the first of the episode, and we're going to have a lot of these follow-up sessions. Let's get started. Let me introduce Deepak Diwakar, our guest for the webinar. Welcome, Deepak.
Hey Vishali, thanks for
Hi.
thanks for hosting. Hi everyone, and thanks for attending it. If all of our India time that's late, well, thanks for being present.
Thanks, Deepak, for taking out time for this and launching the Devlog series for us. Deepak, of course, needs no intro in the tech world. An IITB graduate and a techie at heart. He's co-founded and he's the CTO at Mindtickle. He's helped scale Mindtickle, which is a unicorn today in India, one of the very early SaaS startups based out of India. Today, it's a leading sales enablement platform, and it's been voted the number one enterprise product on G2 for last couple of years. Congratulations on that, Deepak. And other than the tech side, Deepak loves biking. He's an avid biker and he loves mountaineering too. He is also a great mentor to startups like Zipy, and there are a lot of people who look up to Deepak for advice. So I'm sure all of you here would be able to benefit from what he has to share today. Towards the end of, I'll keep something for towards the end of the webinar, because there's another passion of Deepak's that has kept him and Mindtickle going, and we'll talk about it later. So thank you once again, Deepak. Very excited to have you here.
Thanks.
Let me also introduce Archer. She's an engineering leader at Zipy. Welcome, Archer. She'll be co-hosting this event with me.
Hi, everyone. Really pleased to welcome all of you to this very first webinar of ours. And thank you so much for joining in. And hi, Deepak. Looking forward to talking to you and learning from your experiences. So thank you.
Thanks for me. I think it's a good platform to in fact share upfront the challenges, the learnings that each one of us gone through or going through.
Absolutely, Deepak. So let me quickly run through the agenda that we're going to go through today. So first, we'll discuss with Deepak about multiple topics. We'll be touching upon hiring, tech hiring especially, processes, how Mindtickle scaled, and a lot of other things. And please feel free to post your questions in the Q&A window there. Towards the end, we'll be taking up live questions from the participants. And we also have a couple of polls. These are more like to get insights into what all of us are doing. And maybe there are some collaboration platforms that we could all collectively look at. So there'll be a couple of polls, would encourage you to participate in those. And there's one exciting gift towards the end. We have a swag kit for the best question that'll be asked. And we'll share about it on our social media handles later on. So without much further ado, let's get started. I'm sure everybody's quite eager to hear the Mindtickle journey, Deepak. So Deepak, going back a few years, right? So what I remember is when you guys started off, you started off as a treasure hunt platform, and remembered you guys launching at Moodai Fest at IIT Bombay. And fast forward to today, not only have you guys created a category globally, sales enablement, and you are leaders in the enterprise product. I mean, you've come a long, long way. Did you always dream this big? And what is the inspiration behind all of this?
It's a good question, but just small correction to the audience. Like startups, when you think of a journey, you have an idea. An idea evolves, and to reach this level, it doesn't just founders. Founders bring an idea. People who believed in you, who associated with you, who've been the thick and thin, actually build this. So I'm really proud to be a Mindtickler. Now, taking on the question that you said, Vishalini, to be honest, when we four got together, we were actually didn't get together to start a company type. It was like a common passion, like paper bag, removing plastic bag concepts, to kind of a street plays, a lot of social cause things, to a treasure hunt to kind of know about like different aspect of educational aspect, like India from 1300 BC to now, in a political point of view, economical point of view, their ideas. But when we realized that we have something that we can do together, the one thing that kicked in, that hey, if you are ever going to commit to solve a problem, right? Solve a problem which is big enough, right? And I'm not sure if you follow Larry Page. A very important point Larry actually made. Hey, if you're going to solve a problem, big or small, if you're going to commit, it's going to take 10 to 15 years anyway, right? So why don't you solve the problem, right? Which is worth solving, right? So we picked up something that the concept that hey, we need to do. And it was a very abstract. It was not that what we started doing is we have the sales readiness, right? So we have four pivots.
It wasn't day one, right? I mean, yeah.
From treasure hunt to employee engagement to new onboarding to sales onboarding to
wow,
right?
Lots of pivots.
All these things, there are two concrete points where there, hey, we need to do something on outcome, right? Which really towards the productivity, high impact. Something which is a kind of a global ground up problem, right? And the other part is about when we do that, right? We should enjoy the journey, right?
That's very important.
Yeah. So that kept us pushing every single time. Oh, we are becoming a good cult, right? Okay, but that doesn't cut the real impact. And it kept pushing. And 2015, like January was like a final pivot. Wow. And if you look back, it looks like we were in the right time at that point of time. That's how I would say.
Right. No, but it's amazing, Deepak, because that belief, that persistence, I think we all look up to it. So for a lot of startup founders like me, I think that makes a lot of difference. Just hanging in there and trying out, believing in yourself. Yeah. Thanks, Deepak.
Correct. Yeah, and indeed, it's been a long journey, Deepak, to look at it, right? From what I know, it started off in a 3 BHK bungalow where the initial idea cropped up, and now you have a big team. They are in four floors, capturing 4 floors of a premium space. So, of course, the journey has been big. So tell me one thing, of course, the patience, the perseverance that you guys just continue to believe in what the idea was, right? So was it always targeted towards the enterprise, the way you grew? Or was it initially that you started off with the SMB approach, that you wanted small businesses, as your customers, and then you grew up and started growing big with the enterprises? So how was the shift? What were the different challenges, and what major transitions did you see in this in this whole journey?
Uh, Good question. I think depending upon like what kind of problem space any organization targets, right? Uh, Generally, you need to think basically your technology, your processes, your people along that.
Right.
But most of the time, we all start like majority of us start in a SMB sector. We were not like in small businesses, but like a medium growth businesses. Reason being is like it's a high pace. You get constant feedback on those. You can validate idea faster. So we also started like that. So I mean, one point of time, like 5K a deal used to be like a super exciting, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
And
uh,
today, what is the number like, the range? Just to
we
curious.
actually like the highest land is nearly over $1 million.
Wow.
Wow.
From 5K to
That's the
millions.
shift.
So yeah, so interesting. Like for example, we also started a day like in a SMB sector, right? Because you're able to iterate, and when you do that, you have one hypothesis, right? For example, just to give a brief idea, when we understood the sales rate space, we did not start at building ASAP. We in fact put a hypothesis, right? And we kind of built a wireframe, put things on website, ran LinkedIn campaign, and see is there a good interest, and people started coming and say, oh yeah, this is interesting. I need that. We said, oh great, we'll get it in next 7 months. So that's how we kind of started validating, and then we went on reiterating, restructuring because we had a four pivots, lot of uh, old code bases, a lot of old philosophy which actually ingrained also, which needed to restructure. So we
Okay.
went ahead on that direction. So over the time, like started in that, and back in 2017, right? As we are moving, we started realizing that there are businesses which is like a low touch. There are businesses which is like a high touch. So we all need to understand like what kind of business we are in. Uh, Ours was a business where we are trying to say, hey, sales productivity is much bigger than just thinking in efficiency, right? So it needed a kind of a solution kind of approach, educational thing that people need to educate it that hey, how to think of a ramp problem, messaging consisting problem. And interesting enough, that point of time, new it's not just the solution was evolving, like there's a new role was emerging, like a VP enablement function was evolving in the organization. So we understood that this was a kind of a high touch model.
Okay.
And when you look for a business with a high touch model, you also need to have a right ROI, right?
True.
We realize that so rather than chasing like 10K, 20K, 15K deal with that much amount of effort, right? If you move not the enterprise, right? In the same effort, we potentially land 100K to 500K deal, right? And that pivot started in 2017, and it took nearly 2 years to be kind of from ready from mostly all the angles, from like org structure perspective, processes perspective, and in fact the product perspective. So this journey is not like it's a pivotal, right? A lot of things started changing. Your assumptions started changing. Like for example, when you have an organization for 500 sellers, when you need to upload, your expectation is very different. Oh, it should be like seconds, right?
Right.
You potentially not look for building the asynchronous workflow and status. But today we have one of the customer which has 7,700,000
Wow.
users.
Yeah,
You can't
scale
be like, oh,
completely
just wait, it's
changes.
done, right? So
Right.
you need to think your workflow. I mean, you used to display sometimes. You have 100 users or display, just click, scroll, get, right? But when you have like 7 lakh users, scroll, get is potentially not the answer, right?
True.
Search is that potential. And how do you think of a search in XYZ that part? So basically, what is important when we pivot is important is basically how do we know what is going to be your potential sustainable growth. And as soon as we understand this, that hey, the profile is changing from this to this, and this is the potential sustainable growth, right? That actually kind of helps you that, hey, evaluate your workflow, evaluate your function, that, hey, is this going to kind of help sustain this? If not, then start planning to kind of shift those. So it took a lot of that part. Another part is about even like acceptance, like enterprise. When you're building things, it's not like it's launched and yesterday tomorrow it's just been used, right? So
Yeah.
building basics, right? And another part is more predictability in the process. Like if you say that is available by this point of time, enterprise actually expects
There'll be
that
higher
should be really
SLAs, expectations, and a lot of that you need to cater to. Absolutely.
Yeah. Interesting, and Deepak, really insightful as well, because for these are the kind of challenges that most of the startups would face, right? Down the line. So you have to evolve, reinvent. So really good pointers there. So on that note, for the audience, we're opening up a poll here. Would really like all of you to try to answer this. So this is the question is, which is your preferred cloud provider for building scalable tech? And we all know with data, services, infra all moving to cloud, we all have to make this decision at one point in time, right? So please put in your answers. This would be there for a few more seconds.
Yeah, with almost everybody building on the cloud, I think we always trying to figure out which one works for us, for our needs. And once we get the results, we'd love to ask Deepak as to what is it that they use at. Okay, there you go. So you have AWS leading big time, 83%. So clear winner out there. And so Deepak, what about Mindtickle?
We are in AWS.
Okay, so that says it all, guys. AWS, way to go. And so you guys decided on AWS from the beginning. So I wanted to ask this question about scale, Deepak, something that because a lot of founders are here, a lot of developers from startups are here. You start with an MVP, just an idea, then you start doing a beta, and then you go on to launch for a few customers, and then scale catches up. You're kind of building it while selling it all the while. How do you continue to scale, right? I'm sure things must have broken for you when you're trying to scale up. So any episodes where it's failed for you when you're trying to scale up, and how did you kind of manage to go about it? Any tips which we can take care of as founders to not make some of the mistakes? At least I'm sure we're all going to make mistakes.
First, regarding the mistakes, I mean, basic thing that we all need to understand is there are two types of business, either tech-enabled business or tech-driven business, right? But ultimately, they're business. So the first and foremost concept that any founders try to figure out is this idea even worth investing? Is this idea where customer really pay, right? Is there idea where actually it's solving the real pain point? How well it is built, how deeper, stronger is built is not the first thing. First thing is it solving the problem, and then you go there, right? So this assumption itself kicks you a tech debt, right? You already
right.
True, that's another challenge. Yeah, right. Which all the companies face, right?
Then, if your company is growing, right, really growing, that means you'll always have basically a catch up, right? Because you need to take sometimes a quick part of that part. There's a different topic to kind of balance it out, how to think of that part. But primarily, there are, when you run, sometimes unknowingly, sometimes knowingly, right, you take a wrong decisions, right, which is potentially good at that point of time, and
in hindsight,
but may cost you literally, a lot. One such instance, which is like we kind of recently got off, wanted to share with everyone, is long back in somewhere in 2013, 14, in fact. when we were actually started pivoting in this direction. We picked up Elasticsearch as a kind of one of the core DB for our user management. User management is basically comprised of our user provisioning, deprovisioning, authentication, authorization, like multiple subdomains into the pie. Since the volume was not high, right, and Elasticsearch, the company itself was like from open source, it started just been 2 years, right? So and they're really powerful in a search, grouping, and those areas, right? So and search was a very powerful use case in that. We thought that they will like there's a database which is coming out, will be a really powerful search, right? So we did a bet on that, and we kept going, right? And over the time, we all know that ES primarily built on read heavy, right? For searches. They did not evolve as a great good databases. A lot of key things like be it XDCR or be it CDC, they actually did not grow with that. Write flows, there's a limitation, a lot many limitations in that part. We started hitting that, and somehow we were kind of a blindfolded that hey, it's not going to be in that direction, right? So we were waiting, and whatever missing, we were actually started building an abstract on top of it, right? So over the time, what happened? We kind of build when we started migrating, it's 7,000 plus workflows.
Oh my God, 7,000. That's crazy, actually. That many workflows.
And look around, and then what happened is, like, as I told you, right, when you shifted from small, medium to enterprise, like from 100 to 100 users for one tenant to literally 7 lakh users to one tenant, right? So think about the complexity that started emerging in that perspective.
Right.
And it's not that we did like 2 or 3 kind of rewrites, right, to kind of solve the problem, but the underlying mistake, right, we were like hoping we will able to solve. In fact, our team has been fantastic, who kind of, in fact, some of the team in fact went core up to Elasticsearch code base to kind of fix a patch, right?
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah.
that's
Right.
cool.
But that's the decision we realized that's not
Got to scale up.
that's
Help
not
you.
the right decision we took, right? And we had to eliminate. And when we decided had to eliminate, itself was a complex problem, like because so many workflows, right?
Built on top
Built
of.
on top, really identifying when those point of time you didn't have enough documentation. Early on, you generally a lot of time for infrastructure, we don't keep PMs, right? And a lot of us, we don't have a habit of writing, right? What and where. So a lot of such challenges, right? But I'm really appreciative of team who actually did not give up. It took like almost 2.5 years. We in fact took a wrong turn. We spent like 8 months and then realized again certain hypotheses, which in the context of business were wrong, and we had to scrap that and rebuild again.
Right.
And
So I think that's kind of encouraging, Deepak, because I'm sure a lot of us will still make the mistakes because we won't have that kind of foresight, right, to see what's going to come in the future. So, no, amazing.
Yeah, but it's good to know that it's fine to make mistakes as well. And then you can be a unicorn
as
then.
long as you catch it, or as long as you know, or you catch it early.
True.
Right.
True. So here for the audience, we have another poll coming in. So this is again an intriguing one where it should be showing up on your screen now. So when building services for scale, what is your preference? So all of us, when we start up, we know that there is a dilemma. Should we go for managed solutions? Of course, they come with the price. Open source, of course, a lot of effort from your side, and then build it on your own. You know that it's your code base. You can customize it the way you want. So, would be really interesting to understand, what the teams out here, CTOs, CXOs levels, how have you strategized?
Right, because a lot of time as devs, the approach for us is like, let's just build it, right? Like Deepak said, yes, we'll just go ahead and fix it, right? Fix the patch and get it up and running. But Yeah, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Okay, so it's kind of both ways I can see, right?
Managed and open source. Okay. Yeah. Sort of 50-50, right?
Yeah, and build it on your own too. Wow. So a lot of keen developers, I'm sure, out there who want to kind of build it from the scratch. Great.
True, true. So we'll probably come back to it a little later as to how probably Mindtickle strategized it. So one thing Deepak wanted to touch base on is I know Mindtickle has a lot of most envied logos in every space. You have some of the largest cloud providers as your customers. So really big congratulations on pulling that one off. So you're just growing and making all the new startups super proud. So one thing is that getting these customers on board itself is a tough task. Now, once you get them on, how easy was it for Mindtickle to really retain them? And what were your learnings? What were the best practices that Mindtickle really brought on board to make your customers happy, have them satisfied, and stick on to you?
Uh, Very interesting question. I think it has a multifaceted answer. Uh, One is basically really knowing. Again, I told you that with whether it's a high touch model versus whether it's kind of a low touch. Understanding that, and with that, think of an org design or org structure, right? Like, do you need a customer success team? What kind of customer success, right? And then do you need support? What kind of support team? I mean, there's an org structure, right? Second part is about once your org structure is there, right? Uh, Processes like what do you want to actually measure, right? As a happy and sad customer and not so happy customer, right?
Okay.
Sometimes NPS does a good job, sometimes it really doesn't give you any answer. So you need to go deeper, understand that part. And third part is about tool, right? And what kind of tool you figure it out. And with this processes, very important part is how can we think shift left? Basically, how can we go from reactive to proactive? So
True.
you start like basic thing, people start putting, hey, let's put a ticketing system. That's one. Perfect. Right. You start putting a tool like, okay, let's figure it out, mixed panel, some of the thing which kind of understand the behavior, right? Some of the instrumentation. Then if there's a ticket, you have a Jira and all to kind of figure, communicate those things. But if there is a way, if you go shift left and you can figure it out, if there is a customer is facing it. So there are a number of problem possible customer would have, like conceptual level problem, educational level problem, technical problem, right? Behavioral problem. So you have like you need to figure it out. This is the org, like will the org support that? Will your process support that? Or if there's a technical problem, can tool go shift left? And we used to be like mixed panel, full story, right? And all the tickets. Now, kudos to you guys. You started thinking shift left, right?
Thanks, Deepak.
And in fact, Zippy has been a really good investment from a shift left perspective. We kind of identify this more beforehand.
Oh, thanks, Deepak, for putting in a word for us. But yeah, that's what, like, so many tools out there. And but one question, Deepak, did you build this customer support and customer success early on from day one, or did you build it like a little later, or do we need to start thinking upfront when you're starting off?
I think just to give you context, we had a customer success function way before we had sales function.
Wow, customer first.
So yeah, and for a support, I mean, at the start, I was doing the support for like first 2 to 3 years.
Okay,
Before we
right.
actually hired someone, right? And then, for example, drove further. So, and that habit, in fact, still kept me to kind of look at if, I mean, even like you figured out some time slots and you screen through all the tickets.
No,
You have to be close to
that's
your
awesome.
customers all the time.
True.
Right. No, I think that's amazing, Deepak. Thank you so much for sharing about, because customer success again has evolved, right? I mean, there used to be just support, and then there's success that's come in, which is a major role. I think in enterprise and both in SMBs, I think it would be playing uh, a good role, right?
That itself grows further. If you think of customer success, is not just customer success with professional services like value consulting, right? I mean, technical solutions. It grows. I mean, depending upon the complexity, the org structure grows actually.
Got it.
True, true. And brings in a lot of difference as well, because then you are being proactive, right? And you're talking to your customers, understanding their issues much before they even come back to you, right?
That
So
should be the goal.
true. Yeah. So we have another interesting poll coming up here for everyone.
Now, this is a problem I'm sure is kind of, I think it's a problem everybody might be facing, right? Today, we're building so much tech.
True. And I think lately it's become a even major problem in the past couple of years, I think. So yeah, would really love to see what the audience feels on this one.
Right,
What have been
hiring's
your biggest problems?
right. Hiring is always a challenge. We'll definitely talk about it
Correct.
in
We face
detail.
it too,
Let's
right?
right. Oh, okay. Attracting good talent and fit. Wow. Now that's something, and of course, disproportionate market salaries, both major pain points. I think making it. I think it's almost, yeah, most of it. So now, Deepak, we'll come to the hiring part, but I have one very interesting question for you, and that's, I think the audience would also be looking forward to something like this. Given the COVID situation, everybody is very familiar with the term workation, working out from a remote place, right? Now that's become a fashion, it's a buzzword, but I don't think a lot of audience here really knows who started it. Like 6 7 years back, this was something which was a brainchild of Mindtickle founders. You actually thought of the whole concept. This whole vocation word itself started from Mindtickle. Would love to know the story about why did you start vocation? How was the idea born? And that was a time when nobody used to work remotely, right? Everybody knew work from office is the thing. Work from home was also okay, but working out from a remote location. And I would like you to share that story in that snow blizzard where you had a customer issue. I'm sure the audience would love to hear that too.
Thank you for asking this question. It's very, very close. First of all, I mean, many of us understand vacation means so go somewhere and work from there, right? For vacation term, when we actually brought in, right? For I mean, we should have actually patented that term. Yeah.
Right. You guys
So,
should have patented it.
so, so vocation for us is basically shifting the whole office into the mountain, a refreshing air, right, where you feel charged up, we feel motivated, right? Uh, you can be really creative at the same time. You can be with your close ones, right? Have a balance.
Yeah. You used to go with the families, right? Like
Yes,
300
family, kids.
team and the whole family is also. How many planes did you really book, right? Like,
And at the same time, when think of a whole office setup means office infrastructure. Like in office, you have 100 Mbps, 200 Mbps lease line. How do you think of
absolutely.
that and back off of that, right? And a lot of things in the mountains where the network doesn't reach even. So a lot of those
Correct.
construct.
Yeah.
So whole thing started. I mean, the first part, like itself in the mind tickle, the tickle part is basically enjoy the journey, right? So we, uh, when we were doing this, our fourth pivot, the final pivot, what we have a sales readiness. Almost everyone was actually from September onwards. Never took a break, a single day break till
Wow.
completely kind of
No weekends.
weekends.
Wow.
No,
That's absolute dedication, I must say, Deepak.
till Feb end. We kind of rewrote everything, changed the thing, design and everything, right? And that's the point we realize, hey, I mean, now, and we also got a good set of like pilot customers, right? So we thought, hey, I mean, we know we enjoy working, right? But we really need to think, well, how do we recharge? And when we recharge, what we look for? We don't look for only the silos. We look for the people, family we're close to, right? And that's where it started. Uh, and McLovens was our actually first vacation.
Oh.
Yeah. And then slowly, it just emerges from 35 people to 300 employees, plus their families, totally like 600,
Mind blowing.
700 people,
Absolutely.
right?
True.
It spanned from 7 days to a month, right? So very interesting. But one interesting incident, I think, Vishali, that's what probably you were hinting. It's a very interesting one. When we were back in 2017, we were doing vacation in Sikkim. And as I told you, really, vacation is like a big planning. It used to take 3 to 4 months of planning. Like you need to get an approval for network and all to high speed networks, lease line setup. Some of the places is very difficult to have a wired line. How do you have P2P? And when you have wired, how do you think of underground? There are a number of that infrastructure problem for temporary 1 month of time frame. We did all those things. And as if you remember, I told you that 2017 was a time when we actually pivoting from
Right.
market to enterprise.
Okay.
And there was a very critical customer a demo, which is like go or no go kind of situation, right? And that is one of the enterprise customer that the customer is still with us and a very
Wow.
fond of us now, right? And it was like if the demo goes well, then they're in. It's otherwise they're not, right?
Okay.
And interesting enough, what happened? The call was in because the US customer call was in the night. The day there was a big snowfall happened, right? A thunderstorm and
Oh.
everything, right? I mean, it was like knee height snowfalls were there.
Wow.
And
Wow.
we were pouring in the water, right? The lights was completely off, gone, right?
Oh,
Generator was not working.
so
You're
it's a
not
movie scene.
exactly. You're not making it up, right?
No,
Yeah, to build
no,
up the
no.
story, right?
No, we know for
The
sure it's
key
for
part
real.
key part still pending. The demo, the Krishna, one of the co-founders, he was supposed to give the demo at night, and we like started panicking, like, hey, oh, nothing is there. Like we have demo at night, what will we do?
True.
So, thankfully, laptop was charged. There was a different place. We had booked a different two places. We were supposed to go, and let's say if there's a power backup, we'll do that.
Okay.
But in between, like because the call is already started, all those things, right? In the rain, one of the guy was holding the umbrella, right? And with the mobile torch light was on, right? In a hand, a laptop, right?
Wow.
That's how the demo was given, right? It sounds very dramatic, right?
True, it does. But I'm
Uh,
sure it must have been really, the
it's very
situation
tense,
must have
very
been
intense
dreadful.
at that point in time. Look at that, like it was a very pivotal moment for us. Uh, and all of these was like, how do you do? And we are in such a remote part. And Touchwood actually that worked, and that was a very pivotal moment in our journey.
Awesome, awesome, Deepak. And I see there are a lot of questions coming in right now. So what we'll do is we'll jump on to the live questions right away. We still have some time to take that. So let's get started. Let's get started with our first participant. Um, I think the question is from Sachin from Interview Vector. Can we have Sachin join us? Thanks, Sachin. Welcome.
Hi Shalini. Hi Deepak. Hi Anchal. Can you guys
Hi,
hear me?
Sachin.
Yes, Sachin, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Awesome. And thanks Deepak for taking the webinar for all of us. So my question is that Mindtickle was first catering to businesses in India when in the initial days, and then you guys moved to sales to in the US area or globally. So how, as a founders, you decided, and what tickled you to went globally instead of the Indian businesses?
So to be frank, actually we were actually targeting the global market from day one. Just that we were not present in US. We were not present in US till I think 2014. One of the co-founder actually then moved, right, in US. Till then, we were actually kind of taking the night shift, uh, driving that. We actually at least three of us came from the product, the B2B space, which itself a Matic, which itself has a global customer. And the fourth co-founder, Mohit, he was already in the US. So we knew that if we had to think of a SaaS business, we need to think of global problem. And that was the key starting point. And we need to think of a global problem, we need to target the global audience. So that was kind of from the day one focus was.
Okay. Thanks, Deepak. Thanks for answering that.
Thanks, Sachin. Thanks for the question. So we have, I think, Pragati is next. Pragati from Innovate System. Hi, Pragati. Welcome.
Hey, thanks, Vishalini. Hi, Deepak. Hi, Achal.
Hi, Pragati. Welcome.
Thanks, Achal. So, Deepak, something related to security is coming in. So, did you build in security from day one, or did you plan for it? I mean, later on.
Very interesting question. I mean, to be honest, majority of engineers here actually, I mean, including myself, don't think security first when we were actually started journeying as engineers, right? So we do take care of like the standard security things, like for example, do you have standard pen test auditing? Those things are like, for example, started when you're looking for a B2B business, you always look for from day one, right? So you look for that part, but how do you think that is a practice when you're actually coding? To be frank, it was not from the day one. Over the time, we understood that, right? Over the time, you set up a DevOps org where you think of a security as a key part. Over the time, you realize that, hey, nowadays there's so many people, so many open source that we leverage, so many libraries that we leverage. There's a potentially so much vulnerability could possible, right? So you definitely need more proactive tools which kind of alert us beforehand that, hey, whatever is going to your production in a CI/CD itself can identify that, hey, these libraries exposed to XYZ vulnerability. So this is basically built up over the time, not the day one, to be honest.
Thanks, Deepak. No, that's a great thing that we all think that how much to build, right? When you're starting off, and as you scale, there'll be all these things coming in. You'll have to constantly build for them. I think next we have Vipul from GTM Buddy. Hi, Vipul. Thanks for joining.
Hi, Vishalini. Hi, Didi. How are you guys doing? Great to be here.
Good to see you.
Cool. Yeah, so Didi, one interesting question I had, and I do have an idea because I'm an ex-Mindtickler, but would like to know more from you, is your journey from 0 to 10 and possibly 10 to a unicorn. Which part of the journey you enjoyed the most? And as a leader, where did you learn the most? And what were the type of challenges that you faced during these journeys, right? Because when you kind of hit a milestone of 10 million, the challenges changes, then you hit a milestone of 20 million. So which part of the journey was the most exciting learning from a leadership perspective to you?
Interesting question. How do I see is basically, if I recall Mindtickle journey, right? And generally, if I try to read, there are 0 to 1 journey is different journey. 1 to 10 is different. 10 to 25 kind of thing is different, right? When you reach 25, you potentially reach 50. Then 50 to 100 is a very different journey. So that's what is part. 0 to 1 is basically all trying to figure it out, right? Is it making sense? That makes sense, right? You build a number of things, scrap a number of things. We ourselves actually scrapped few products, had to kill few products, in fact, in that journey, right? And then we look at 1 to 10. This is about it is whatever you figured out the product market fit, you wanted to scale and see that's there, right? So So 0 to 1 is a different pain of understanding. That's a different thrill that, hey, whatever I'm thinking, is it even making sense? If it makes sense, generally 1 to 10, if you're able to, this is like 1 to 10 is satisfying. 0 to 1 is like, give you a good boost. The idea is good. It's done. The real scaling actually kicks in when you move 10 million plus, right? Because when you try to move 10 million plus, you need to switch your sales motion. Because now your quarterly target is not the same, which used to be 1 to 10. So that's the reason when you switch that, you potentially you go up market, expand, right? And then in that case, you get all sort of pressure from either for a sales or even the restructuring the org, or even the product lines that you need to or add or scale up, right? Those we need to. It's a very interesting journey. When you hit like a 25, right? 50 is like you can potentially kind of move on that. But when you try to go of 50 onwards, you think about that. A quarter could be like 10 million in revenue. That's like from 200K, 300K, or $1 million to 10. That's scale, right? Suddenly, then again, it pushes you to switch the sales motion or add the sales motion. That actually means the whole org level thing, right? For me, I always enjoyed the change.
Every
So,
transition is a new challenge.
yeah. So I actually like the change. So it kind of challenges you that can this be done? Can you do it?
Cool. Thanks, Didi.
Thanks, Vipul. Okay, so we still have time for a few more questions. We have Amit from Zipy. Amit, you can go next. Hi, Amit.
Hi Vishalini, hi Achal, hi Deepak. Hope you're doing good. So my question is in line with how did you manage meeting team members' expectation and simultaneously delivering the features? For instance, you could say JavaScript technologies keep changing. So Mindtickle had moved from Angular JS to say React, and mostly the tech engineers, love to explore new technology, keep learning. However, there's a trade-off between delivering a feature and there's time to market which you need to be in, and also improve the tech debt behind the scene. But there should be a balance, right? What's your take on that?
Very good question, Amit. I think we also learned over the time few things, right? The very important thing is about when we are growing, like from early on to next, is first knowing that what direction we are heading, like knowing not the high level, really what does it translate to into the product, what does it translate to the engineering, like that direction is really important early on. And when you're figuring out 0 to 1, don't think about like the scale, right? I mean, I know the standard way that we do that generally will sustain, but when you figure it out something, right, that's where you need to know which direction we're heading, and if you're heading in that direction, what does it impact on the product engineering, right? That gives you basically a potential sustainable growth. Like, okay, that means my user base is going to grow 2x in a year or 5x in a year, 10x in a year. If you are a SaaS tenant business, like SaaS business, and you are multi-tenant, then you probably need to know what is my tenancy is increasing, like that kind of basic understanding. And then you need to understand obviously the key feature set with that the revenue is coming, right? So what I see, which we understood over the time and kind of structured, divide the roadmap. So you need to divide the roadmap, like we have the 4 categories. Like first part is basically look for metrics mover, which is like your really high business impact, which gives you either revenue, stop the churn, like direct impact. Once you understand which direction you're going, you know really, hey, if I need to ship 3-4 feature set, it will help to do that. Second is about platform. So this platform is actually takes into account not for just today problem, but what problem it's potentially going to cause year down the line, 3 years down the line, right? Not 10 years down the line, but that's a time frame you need to judge, right? Like, for example, if let's just, we are very comfortable in Angular, but we know that uh, uh, we are going to remove this Angular with the React in the connection with, let's say, GraphQL, to kind of minimize the burden of heavy user API and all simplifications. Then okay, what if you're going to do this for Y, and then for example, okay, if I'm doing right now, it's okay, but what is the time frame? Whatever I'm choosing is going to be potentially a pain point. So that part actually falls in your platform bucket. That, hey, let me invest in a platform which kind of remove the potential that going to be tomorrow, right? Or let me think about build the workflow such that I know that is going to go my user base from, let's say, 100K to 500K a month, right? So knowing this growth, you start thinking, putting projects in that bucket. Third piece is basically operational maintenance. That's called keeping the lights on. Keeping the lights on, basically, you already have made mistakes. We all have made mistakes, and and what we need to deal right now, right? Solving the tickets, support tickets in the system. You can't just say, hey, wait for the resolution. I'm going to replace the new tech and then going to solve. No, you don't. You have, for customer, it doesn't matter. It's an Angular and React. Customer, it matters. The problem is resolved, right? So that bucket is basically, you need to also give the good enough weightage, right? And idea is that like the first two bucket is like a really business mover, right? And third bucket is basically you already have the debt you need to pay right now. That's what you're paying right now, right? So how do you balance, like, knowing that where you are, right? Distribute that the resources and bandwidth among them. That will kind of help you balance going forward. That, hey, I can live with these many non-debt. I can live with these many operational maintenance, right? Because whatever bandwidth is left, it's a 30% to 50% bandwidth is left to actually ship the real feature, which really give me a revenue and all, right? So that help you plan, right? And put some kind of a buffer bandwidth for ad hoc, which is like literally not planned. And when you're in growth phase, suddenly something can come from the sales or something come from the renewal perspective, which you need to accommodate. Because, I mean, remember, tech, what we are doing, tech, we are actually enabling the business to do that. So we need to accommodate that part as well. I hope Amit probably gave you the balanced view.
Yeah, indeed. I think it's quite relatable at the stage we are in and the kind of decision that we'll take going forward. Thanks, Deepak.
Right. Decision making is something we have to do all the time. So Deepak, to add to that one quick thing. So as the frameworks were changing, right, you see technologies evolving. So did you make sure that your teams learned those technologies and moved on? Because it would take time to hire for a new technology also, right? And they have to evolve. So how did you go about doing that?
So I think the best part is about, best part start from the good hiring, right? If you have good team members, right, they generally assess what's going to be the right technology, right, which is going to sustain a long enough time, right? When you're deciding a technology, there's a multiple factor, right? When you decide a technology, you need to see that is it lasting? Does it has a good enough community support?
Right.
Because
Community
if
support,
it's
yeah.
a new tech, but if it doesn't have a good enough community support, you're gonna stuck for a long time. You need to figure it out by your own,
Very
right?
important. Very important.
So that's a very important part. Third part, we generally till recently we didn't realize is, let's say sometimes you're shortage of capacity, right? And there's a high pressure you need to build outside.
Yeah.
What you realize, you choose a technology which is like in the market, there's very less people even know you even if you have throw the money, you are not able to get help.
Yeah.
Right?
Quite inevitable at times. Yeah, you land up in that situation.
You do land up in that situation. So basically, choice of technology is basically first and foremost is basically looking for the perspective. Hey, how much balanced debt we can keep continuing? That's the first parameter. You look for that, and if you're able to see that, choose the technology, move ahead in that direction, and start investing in the people from that day itself.
Got it. Sure. No, that's a great learning there, Deepak. So let me just invite one last person. I think we can have Prateek coming up next. Prateek, if you can ask your question to Deepak directly. Hey, Prateek, welcome.
Hi Vishalini, hi Deepak, hi Achal.
Hi,
Great chat,
Prateek.
everyone. Really enjoyed it.
Oh,
Deepak, my question is around product roadmap and product features. I've been a product manager in my past life, so naturally kind of think about that. You had mentioned that with these large enterprise customers,
Yeah.
the feature set, the future roadmap has to be very, very predictable. You have to stick to these timelines.
Yeah.
Now, as a startup, where the kind of the saying that goes around is like that move fast and break things, you couldn't do that, right? You would have to kind of build like a high conviction, high predictability roadmap. How did you kind of build this high conviction, and what features you wanted to build?
I mean, it's a good question and tough question, right? Basically, when you're actually kind of started figuring it out, that hey, will this work or not, you move in agile way. You wanted to move, and it's okay to break, right? But when you move to a customer base which looks for the most form and predictable functionality, you need to switch the working model. You need to go for more reliability. You need to look for a lot of NFR in your when you're building things. So if I understand the question, you're saying you're asking that hey, how to decide that hey, this feature has to build, and this feature will
Correct,
really make sense for enterprise, and it has to build with the right quality.
correct. Yeah, because you would have to kind of promise these features which are like several months out.
So
So you need,
one thing that we learned is, so one part, so think about what feature set, let's say, if we figure it out, hey, it's our thought process, hey, is this making sense? Then one way is the discovery. You do discovery, right? Hey, this is our thought process. You discovered, whatever you put a hypothesis, you validate with the customer. And when you do that, right, most important thing is basically have a sign up process. A lot of time, it's like we also have been burned at that point of time. Some time you align that hey, this is what we aligned, right? And sometimes what happened is that maybe the people who give the input, it's changed, or the problem changes, their mind changes, they forgot, right? Sometimes those things also happen. So what is important when we figure it out the problem space, and when you're defining the solution, right? You're getting the consent. You generally get a kind of a sign up, right? Kind of a record sign up. That itself kind of forces them to be in the contract that hey, I'm actually signing off that this is what I'm needed, right? This and the discovery, generally when you understand the type of customer that hey, this is the type of customer I'm going to serve, do a right discovery, right? So this helps about that what we're going to build, and when we are going to deliver, like this is going to stick with them. Quality is something that you need to bake in the processes, more predictability, uh, bringing more, like for example, we actually introduced program management. We didn't have that, right? We realized how important the actually program management to bring the predictability, right? So we brought that for that part that helped, in fact, how to even write a user story, right? How to think of a demo before even like releasing into production, right? So that you generally catch things, whether it's a UX, whether technical problem, right? Whether the feature misalignment be early, right? It generally helps to go towards quality.
great. Thanks a lot. I think I did get like one or two very, very interesting nuggets in there. Very, very helpful. Thanks, Deepak.
Thanks, Prateek. Thanks for joining. I think we're almost out of time now, Deepak. So we'll have to. There are lots of questions pouring in. I don't think we have enough time to take them on. But what we'll do is we'll post all those questions on the Discord channel, and we'll see how many of them we can have them answered by Deepak directly, and get back to you on that. So no, this was a very, very enlightening session, Deepak. Thank you so much. We'll be sharing the Discord link with everybody to continue posting their questions, if any. I'm sure we'll have Deepak here again. It was such an amazing session, Deepak. Felt like taking a lot of notes for Zippy itself.
True enough. Thank you so much, Deepak. You have been so patient with all the questions and all our digging in to into your experiences. So, and a lot of good anecdotes that came out. Especially the Sikkim one was really a nice one that you brought out. And thank you so much for the audience to have taken the time out for this webinar. Really appreciate the participation, the way a lot of questions poured in. Looks like people really wanted to interact more, but unfortunately we ran out of time. So please do join Discord and let us know what all you want to be answered.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for whole Zippy team. I think this kind of thing always has to be, has to be there. I myself still learning a lot with a lot of peer set seniors, right, who's been the journey. This always helps exchanging the notes, learning from each other. I know each one's journey is going to be very different.
Yeah.
But any abstract which generally you can catch from that does always help. So thank you for inviting. Thanks everyone for being awake.
Thanks a lot, Deepak. And one last thing, we have the swag kit coming for the lucky winner. So we'll keep you posted on all our social handles. Thank you once again. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.